Just minutes ago, the House of Commons descended into chaos as Nigel Farage detonated a political bombshell at PMQs, and for the first time, Keir Starmer completely lost control.
Welcome to Power and Policy UK, the channel that breaks down Westminster power plays as they happen. No spin, no slogans, just the stories shaping Britain's future.
The chamber was already humming before the first question was even asked, that low electric murmur that signals something is about to go wrong. Green benches packed, MPs leaning forward, papers shuffled with unnecessary force, laughter popping up and dying away like sparks. Then Nigel Farage rose, and within seconds the temperature in the House of Commons shot through the roof.
What followed at Prime Minister's questions was not just another noisy exchange, not just another viral clip waiting to be chopped up for social media. It was one of those moments that people inside Westminster instantly recognise as a turning point, when control slips, authority wobbles, and the carefully rehearsed script collapses in real time.
Farage didn't shout at first. That was the unsettling part. He began calmly, almost casually, thanking the speaker with a tight smile that never reached his eyes. His voice carried easily across the chamber, measured and deliberate, cutting through the background noise. From the very first sentence, it was clear he wasn't there to play along. He wasn't interested in sound bites or safe lines. He was there to provoke, to expose, and to push the Prime Minister into a corner with no easy exit. The question itself was framed like a trap. On the surface, it sounded procedural, almost dull, referencing promises made, figures quoted, statements delivered at the dispatch box only weeks earlier. But as Farage spoke, he began layering in context, connecting dots that many on the government benches would rather keep separate. Every pause was calculated. Every glance across the aisle was a challenge. MPs behind him murmured approval, while others shifted uncomfortably, sensing where this was going. Keir Starmer's reaction was immediate but restrained. He sat upright, hands clasped, nodding slowly as if acknowledging a fair point, the classic posture of a leader trying to project calm authority. But those close enough to see could tell something was off. The jaw tightened, the eyes narrowed just slightly. This wasn't a routine attack from the opposition benches that could be swatted away with a rehearsed line and a joke. This was personal, persistent, and designed to unravel him. As Farage pressed on, the volume in the chamber began to rise. Shouts of "answer the question" mixed with groans and sarcastic laughter. The speaker called for order, his voice firm but already strained, like a referee who knows the match is slipping beyond control. Farage, unfazed, continued, now openly accusing the Prime Minister of saying one thing to the public and another behind closed doors. He cited interviews, policy briefings, and statements that appeared to contradict each other, delivering them in rapid succession so there was barely time for interruption. This was the moment when Starmer stood, and the atmosphere shifted again. The benches behind him erupted into supportive noise, a wall of sound meant to drown out the attack and bolster their leader. Starmer began confidently enough, thanking Farage for his question and launching into a defence that stressed responsibility, stability, and the complexity of governing. It was polished, professional, and under normal circumstances it might have worked. But the Commons was not in a normal mood.
Before Starmer could finish his first point, Farage was back on his feet, shaking his head, visibly incredulous. The Speaker intervened, reminding members to respect the rules, but the damage was already done. The interruption landed exactly as intended, breaking the rhythm of the Prime Minister's response and injecting a sense of chaos. Starmer tried to continue, raising his voice slightly to be heard over the noise, but each sentence seemed to provoke another wave of reaction from the opposition benches. What followed was a rare sight, a Prime Minister visibly struggling to impose authority over the chamber. His words were drowned out by jeers and laughter. Supporters shouted encouragement, but it only added to the cacophony. The Speaker stood, calling repeatedly for order, his tone growing sharper with each attempt. At one point, he threatened to name members who refused to sit down, but even that warning seemed to have limited effect. Farage seized the moment perfectly. When he spoke again, it was with more fire, his earlier calm replaced by controlled anger. He accused the Prime Minister of dodging, of hiding behind platitudes instead of answering the substance of the question. His language was blunt, almost brutal, the kind that cuts through parliamentary convention and speaks directly to the cameras. This was no longer just a debate inside the Commons. It was a performance aimed squarely at the public watching at home. Starmer attempted to push back, pointing to his record, to ongoing reviews, to the need for careful decision-making. But the sense of command he usually projects simply wasn't there. Each time he tried to pivot, Farage dragged him back, repeating the core accusation with relentless focus. MPs shouted across the floor. Some laughed openly. Others looked on in stunned silence, aware they were witnessing something that would dominate the news cycle for days. The Speaker's frustration was now impossible to hide. He stood again, voice raised, warning that PMQs could not continue in this manner. He pleaded for calm, for respect, for order. For a brief moment, the noise dipped, and Starmer tried once more to regain his footing. He spoke about leadership, about making tough choices, about refusing to engage in what he called political theater. That line backfired instantly. Farage pounced, accusing the Prime Minister of dismissing legitimate scrutiny as theater simply because he didn't like the questions. The chamber erupted again, louder than before. The Speaker banged his gavel, calling Farage to order, but the words had already landed. Starmer's expression hardened, the mask slipping just enough for viewers to see the irritation beneath. Observers in the gallery later described the scene as chaotic but riveting. This was politics stripped of polish, raw and unpredictable. It was a reminder that despite all the spin, media training and message discipline, Parliament can still produce moments of genuine confrontation where outcomes are uncertain and authority is tested in real time. As the exchange finally wound down, neither side could claim a clean victory. Starmer managed to complete his answer technically, but the impression left was not one of control. Farage returned to his seat to a mix of cheers and groans, clearly satisfied that he had achieved his aim. The Speaker moved quickly to the next question, eager to restore some semblance of normality, but the mood in the chamber remained unsettled. Within minutes, clips of the confrontation were already spreading online. Commentators began dissecting every gesture, every interruption, every raised eyebrow. Supporters of Farage hailed it as a fearless takedown of a prime minister on the defensive. Starmer's allies argued that he had faced down provocation and refused to be dragged into chaos. Neutral observers noted something else entirely, a leader momentarily wrong-footed, struggling to assert dominance in a hostile environment.
What made the moment so powerful wasn't just the shouting or the spectacle. It was the sense that this exchange tapped into deeper tensions within British politics. Questions about trust, transparency, and accountability hung in the air long after the chamber quieted. Farage's approach, confrontational and uncompromising, contrasted sharply with Starmer's measured institutional style, and the clash between those two approaches played out vividly on the Commons floor.
For viewers at home, it was a reminder of why PMQs still matters. For all its flaws, its theatrics, and its occasional absurdity, it remains one of the few places where power is challenged publicly and unpredictably. On this day, that challenge came with unusual force, and the Prime Minister felt it.
As MPs filed out after the session, the buzz continued in the corridors. Journalists clustered, aides whispered urgently into phones, and social media feeds filled with hot takes and slow-motion replays. Whether this moment will have lasting political consequences remains to be seen, but its immediate impact was undeniable. For a few intense minutes, the carefully managed image of control cracked, and the raw, messy reality of politics burst through.
In the end, that may be what people remember most, not a single line or statistic, but the sight of a prime minister battling to be heard, a challenger refusing to back down, and a chamber teetering on the edge of disorder. In a political landscape often accused of being dull or disconnected, this was anything but. It was loud, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore, and it left everyone watching with the same lingering question: what happens next?
You've been watching Power and Policy UK, where politics meets accountability. If you want real insight, hit subscribe and stay ahead of the next power shift.